Okay, today I'm filming another declutter video. I'm going to be going through all of my highlighters and all of my bronzers and decluttering them and removing products that I'm not really reaching for super often and shades that just don't work for my skin tone. I do have more cream and liquid highlighters and bronzers than I ever have, and because of that, there are definitely powder products I'm not reaching for as much and just things that I no longer really enjoy using. So I'm going to find those products, pass them along to friends and family. Nothing is getting thrown away unless it is an older expired product. I shouldn't have too many old products in here because I just did a declutter video a year ago and I do kind of go through my collection regularly and remove products I'm not using. So we'll see, but let's jump into it. I don't have a specific goal in mind. I really just want this to not be so full. So that way when I open up this section of my collection to choose a product, I'm not feeling so overwhelmed. So let's start with highlighters and then I'll do bronzers. Let's just start right here in the front. So the first one I have is from Rare Beauty. This is a little bit newer to my collection. I think it's actually the most recent highlighter I purchased. It's in the shade Exhilarate. I love this so much. I've been talking about this on my channel nonstop, and I was kind of like on the fence for a little while because I was like, how good could it be? It's a powder highlighter, but honestly, ever since I purchased this one, I haven't really reached for any of my other powder highlighters because this looks so good on the skin. But look how pretty this is. It's very silky, really smooth, so I'm definitely a fan of this one, and I also love wearing this on the eyes as eyeshadow. I also have this highlighter from Catrice. This is the More Than Glow highlighter, and I have the shade Beyond Golden Glow. I do have a pink one somewhere. I don't see it in here. I feel like in all of my declutter videos, I'm missing like 2 or 3 products from each category, just because when I film videos, sometimes I put the products in like a different section, in a different tray, just to set them aside. So I don't have the pink one, but here's a look at the gold one next to Rare Beauty. This one I thought was like the most intense metallic highlighter I had, but Rare Beauty is definitely more intense than this one. I like the texture of this one because again, I feel like it just melts into the skin in a really pretty way. So I reach for this one quite a bit. Actually, while I'm swatching all of my gold highlighters, let me just try to stick with those. So I have this one from Nabla. This is the Skin Glazing Glass Finish Glow Powder in the shade Privilege. Again, this one is really pretty on the skin. It's a very smooth formula. When I think of this highlighter, I just think it's a gold highlighter, and then when I apply it to the skin, I always forget it has like a little bit of a pink undertone to it. You can probably tell now that it's next to these two. On the left is Rare Beauty, in the center is Catrice, and then on the right is Nabla. They're all really gorgeous. I enjoy all of the formulas for different reasons, but I feel like this one is almost a little bit more natural on my skin, so it's great for everyday wear. I am going to declutter the Haus Labs highlighter. I want to keep this. I feel like I've had it in my collection for a little bit longer than I probably should because I'm not a big fan of the formula. It's the Bio Radiant Gel Powder Highlighter in the shade Sunstone. I want to love this product so much, and I feel like, you know, on the skin, it's not the worst looking highlighter I've ever tried, but it's also not the most flattering, especially because I just swatched like 3 gold highlighters I love. Honestly, I feel like this one swatches better than it actually applies. So here's the Haus Labs one. I really wanted to swatch it next to the other one so you could see. I don't know, like it looks pretty when I swatch it, but when I actually put it on the cheeks, it looks a little bit glittery, kind of dry, pretty underwhelming. And I'm always tempted to buy like the pink highlighter because I hear everyone rave about that, but I just don't think I am the biggest fan of this formula. Again, it's not the worst formula I've ever tried by any means, but I just don't find myself using it because I have so many other highlighters I love. So it's time to part with this one. I'm also going to declutter this powder from About Face. It is the Light Lock powder and I have the shade Smother. This is really pretty. I love that it is like a pinky purple highlight. I don't have a lot of shades like this in my collection, and the color is gorgeous. So I do wear this from time to time, but the formula just isn't my favorite. Again, I feel like this swatch is fine. Like the swatch looks really pretty, very smooth, but when I apply it to my cheeks, it looks a little bit dry and it just enhances texture. I'm so tempted to keep it because the color is beautiful, but again, every time I wear it, I just don't love how it looks on the skin. So for that reason, I do need to declutter it. I do have a couple of other pink toned highlighters in my collection. This one is from Buxom. This is their Wanderlust Glow highlighter in the shade White Russian. So I've had this for a while. It doesn't look very nice in the pan. This always happens with my Buxom cheek products. I feel like they end up looking kind of textured, but I feel like it's just the way the formula is mixed. On the skin, they look really smooth. I like this one because it's a little bit more subtle. It does have like a hint of pink to it, but it's not like a full full-on pink highlighter. I do have this highlighter from Essence. I really don't like this formula. This is probably like the one formula in here that I'm not the biggest fan of, but I've tried to make it work for me over and over because again, it's a pink highlighter. I love a good pink highlighter, but I don't have a ton of them. Again, none of them look bad when I swatch them, but on the cheeks, this one looks very dry, very underwhelming. It's kind of the same case as the House Labs powder. Like it feels lightweight and I think that it's going to look silky and smooth, but it just doesn't look great on my skin. So I'm sad about this one. It's really affordable. I've heard from a lot of people who enjoy this, so that could be the case for you. It's just not something I end up using. I feel like I lost track of where I was. I always just like pull random highlighters and then I don't know where I'm at. So this one is from Beauty Pie. It is the Triple Beauty Perfect Glowy Powder in the shade Glowy-O. So I really like this product. It's very, very soft and really, really subtle on the skin. It kind of has a little bit of an icy glow to it. So that's what it looks like. It's really gorgeous. So I'm definitely going to keep this one. And then again, for days where I want something really natural and soft, I do reach for this Essence highlighter. So I've had this in my collection before. I decluttered it because at the time I wasn't really into the formula, but I feel like there are definitely days where I want something really soft and natural and just not too over the top. This isn't like my top favorite formula by any means, but you can see how soft and subtle it is. I feel like it just kind of brightens up the skin in a very natural way. So for me, there is kind of like a time and place for it. It's not my go-to, but it is nice when I don't have a ton of makeup on and I don't want to have like a really intense highlighter. Okay, and then I have this highlighter from Essence as well. This is the Kissed by the Light highlighting powder. So I kind of use this in a couple of different ways. For the most part, I do use it as a highlighter. Sometimes I'll use it as like a blush topper, and I usually just end up like swirling all of the shades together. It has this smoothing texture to it that makes it look like a high-end product. Like if this was in more expensive packaging, I would totally think it was like a $38, $40 highlighter. So I'm definitely going to keep this one too. I like this a lot better than Pure Nude, but you know, it's different. Which ones didn't I go through? I have this ColourPop highlighter. I am going to declutter this one. It's their Super Shock highlighter in the shade Flip Flop. I honestly haven't used this. I don't know if it was in my last declutter video, but I think I might have used it once to test it out and then I haven't reached for it. I do have a couple of other Super Shock highlighters that I will end up keeping, but for whatever reason, I think it's because I can't see the actual shade when I'm going through my collection and choosing a highlighter. That's why it kind of gets ignored. So I'm going to pass this one along. But like I said, I do have some other ColourPop Super Shock highlighters. There are two that I wear quite a bit. This one is called Lunch Money. I'll swatch all of these for you so you can see what they look like. Again, this is very natural, really soft on the skin, but the Super Shock cheeks have like this really pretty, almost like cream to powder formula. They're just very unique. I also wear the shade Wisp quite a bit. This one is more of like a golden shade. This one is in the shade Happy Thoughts. It was part of the Tinkerbell collection, which I still feel like was one of their best collections. This one's Lunch Money, this one is Wisp, and then this one is Happy Thoughts. I'm not sure if Happy Thoughts is still available, but I'm pretty sure Lunch Money and Wisp are. I also have these shades. I feel like maybe they're a little bit dark for me because I don't typically reach for them. This one is Flute Punch. Let me see if I can get it to focus. It doesn't want to focus on these for some reason. This color might work for me. Let me just swatch it. This one's too dark for sure. This one is Champagne BB. I actually haven't even worn this one, so I'm not going to swatch it. Honestly, I don't even think it's still available anymore. If something is new, which doesn't typically happen, usually I don't put products in here unless I've worn them, but if I do catch a new product, I just like to donate it. Some places will take lightly used makeup. The places around me do only accept new makeup, but Project Beauty Share usually will take lightly used makeup in some different categories if you're looking to donate makeup as well. I am going to keep this color. I don't know why I don't reach for this one. I think in the pan it looks a little bit darker, so I always assume it's not going to work for my skin tone, but I am going to keep it because I do have it. This highlighter is from LYS Beauty. It is the Aim High Pressed Highlighter Powder in the shade Brave. It's really gorgeous. This is definitely an intense, vibrant gold. I'll swatch this one for you in a second, but I'll show you the other gold highlighters I'm keeping as well. This one is from Anastasia Beverly Hills. It's definitely older, but mine is still good. It is the Amrezy highlighter. I'm not getting rid of this one until I absolutely have to because it is definitely a tried and true favorite. I still wear it all the time. I'm definitely keeping that one. I do have two of the Becca highlighters, so I still have the Champagne Pop. You know what? I did purchase a backup of this when Becca announced they were going out of business, and I haven't, but I haven't opened it yet because, again, this one is still good. I don't know if this is the original Champagne Pop I had. I feel like it's not. You know what I think happened? It probably broke when I was traveling once, and then I repurchased it because I used to bring these with me when I went out of town, but they're so soft So I had so many Becca highlighters break on me. And then this one is Opal. So over the years, I did end up repurchasing a few of my go-to shades. So I feel like that is not the original one, but I'm definitely still such a fan. So this one is LYS Beauty. This one is Amrezy. This one is Becca Champagne Pop, and then Becca Opal. It's so funny because swatch, they all look so similar, but honestly, I do reach for different formulas depending on the type of look I'm going for. I feel like Amrezy and Champagne Pop are more similar than I remember. But I'm definitely a fan of all of these formulas, so I am going to hang on to these as well. So these are all of the highlighters I'm keeping so far. Let me move these over here, and then I'll go through this side. I am going to declutter my Jaclyn Cosmetics highlighters. I think the packaging is beautiful, but it is very big, super, super bulky. I know some people like that. I usually prefer something a little bit smaller, if at all possible, just to kind of save space. But that's not why I'm decluttering these. I feel like I was looking for a good replacement for the Becca highlighters when I tried these, and these come close. Honestly, I feel like they look good on the skin, but I kept a ton of other golden highlighters, as you just saw, and a lot of those formulas I prefer over this. This one is Mesmerized, and then this one is Iced, just so you can see what they look like next to each other. I do think this formula is pretty smooth, very lightweight on the skin. I've used these a ton over the years. I've had them for a couple of years. On the left is Mesmerized, and then on the right is Iced. They're really pretty, but again, I do need to cut my collection down a little bit. I just don't typically reach for these over the other formulas, and I don't know, I don't talk about Jaclyn Cosmetics on my channel. I'm not the biggest fan of the brand, so for those reasons, I'm just going to declutter these. I do have 3 of the ColourPop highlighters in this packaging. I've stopped buying or even trying highlighters from ColourPop that come in this packaging. ColourPop does send me PR from time to time, so I think I probably got these in the mail as PR. I don't use them because, again, when I can't see the actual shade of the highlighter and it's not something I know off the top of my head like Becca's Champagne Pop, I just find that I personally don't typically use them. This one's in the shade Addicted to You. It's really pretty, and I do like these kind of like tie-dye looking highlighters. This one is called On and On. Again, super pretty. I feel like this is just a gorgeous color. And then this one is Soft Pink. This one is from Soul Body. This is a little bit older, but the actual product still feels good. So again, Addicted to You, On and then Soft Pink. They're pretty, and I'm tempted to keep them because they just swatch so beautifully. And I do love the Super Shock highlighters. I feel like I've been wearing them so much lately, but I don't know that I've used them since I did my last declutter. I'm not sure if they were all in my collection by then, but either way, I can't remember the last time I actually wore them. So for that reason, I just feel like it's time to declutter them. I am going to keep it the Flower Beauty Day Glow Highlighting Glaze. This is such a gorgeous product. It's so unique. I feel like the only other product that I have that's kind of similar, wait, where is it? Oh, it's right over here. This is the Merit Day Glow Highlighting Balm. Oh, they even have like a similar name. I feel like these end up looking kind of similar on the cheeks, but they're different colors. So the Flower Beauty one is in the shade Stunner. They do have a deeper shade as well, but I just love this color. It looks so pretty on the skin. It really just has like this beautiful glowy finish. It feels like a cream, but it's very, very light, really thin. So I just kind of like dap this on my cheeks and it looks so natural. Again, the Merit product is kind of similar, but this one is more golden and it's a little bit thinner, maybe like slightly creamier. So I do feel like the quality is a little bit better than Flower Beauty, but it's also a lot more expensive. They do give a very, very similar effect if that's kind of what you're looking for. But again, they don't look like you're wearing like a stripe of highlighter. They just make your skin look very dewy, very glowy. So I am going to keep both of them. This is what the Merit highlighter looks like in case you're curious. They do have a couple of different shades, but I have the shade Citrine. Flower Beauty also has these highlighters. The quality is so good. These feel like high-end highlighters. In fact, I really wouldn't purchase a Charlotte Tilbury Beauty Light wand after trying these if there is a shade that's pretty similar, because these perform the exact same in my opinion. This one is Opal and then this one is Gleam. I didn't blend those swatches out. That's just the product like directly applied from the applicator. These look so nice on the skin. They're very, very easy to work with. I do have one Charlotte Tilbury one. I got this as part of a holiday set. This one is in the shade Spotlight. I feel like this is pretty similar to Flower Beauty. I mean, I would say they're dupes. I applied a little bit more of the Charlotte Tilbury one, so I just added a little bit of the Flower Beauty one so you could see what they look like next to each other. with the same amount applied, but they really do look identical on the skin. And I don't know how much you get in the full-size version of the Charlotte Tilbury one because I only have a mini. So the Flower Beauty comes with 0.47 ounces. I'll just look it up online. I just checked. The full-size Charlotte Tilbury highlighter comes with 0.41. So not, you know, a lot less, but the Flower Beauty one is maybe like a third of the price. I do have this Milk Makeup Highlighter in the shade Lit. I am going to hang on to this one. I think this looks really pretty on the skin. This is the Milani Liquid Highlighter in the shade Lunar. Oh, I also have the Milani Cheek Kiss Liquid Blush Highlighter. So I keep this in my blush drawer, or in my highlighter drawer, but I feel like you could use it as a blush or a highlighter. I think I thought it was going to be like a good alternative to Peachgasm, which I do want, but again, I just feel like the Charlotte Tilbury price point is a little bit high. So I was excited to try this one, but that's the product layered up quite a bit. I mean, on the cheeks, I would blend it out even more, so it looks very, very subtle. I do think it looks pretty layered over a more intense blush. If you do like a lighter, softer blush application, that might be perfect for you, but it does look pretty as a highlighter too. And then the Milani, the gold one, again, very smooth, really gorgeous on the skin. Before I do the rest of the highlighters over here, I think I'm going to do these bronzers first, and then I'll do whatever is over in this section. On the left, I have all of my powder bronzers, and then on the right, I have all of my creams and liquids. Let's do powder bronzer first, because I don't know if I'm going to keep a ton of powder bronzer. So I am going to declutter this one. It's from e.l.f. It is the Bite Size Cheek Duo in Coconut. The bronzer is a little bit too dark for me, so I'm going to declutter this one. I just don't get a lot of use out of it. I'm also going to declutter the NYX Matte Bronzer. I have the shade Medium. This one's a little bit too dark for me. I don't do a lot of self-tanning these days. I feel like when I was using self-tanner more regularly, this was nice to have. The formula is gorgeous. It's very smooth. I keep meaning to pick up the shade Light, but then I forget. And honestly, you know, I have a good amount of powder bronzer in here, so that's why I don't typically run out and buy a ton of new bronzer. So I'm going to pass this product along to someone who would probably get more use out of it than me. It's also time to part with the Haus Labs bronzer. This is the Power Sculpt Velvet Bronzer. I have the shade Light Level 3. I want to love this so much, and I feel like it does look nice layered on top of cream bronzer, but I also feel like that's not a reason to keep it because I could use any other powder bronzer on top of cream bronzer. I feel like I tried to make the Haus Labs products work for me so many times, and I just don't like them. They don't work really well for my skin. I'm also going to declutter this product from Catrice. This is a little bit older. It's the Sungasm Luminizing Bronzer. I mean, you can tell that I loved it. I used it quite a bit. It just didn't perform the same like the last few times I used it. I feel like it almost felt like it was dried out. So I feel like it has expired. The product is no longer the same. So that means it is time to part with this one. Okay, I am keeping the Milani Baked Bronzer. I love this product. It's very light, very natural on the skin. On days where I don't want something, you know, too over the top, too intense, I will reach for this formula. And I love it because it does look really soft and pretty. I'm also keeping the Essence Kissed by the Light Illuminating Powder. This one is in the shade Sun Kissed. So it's pretty similar to the other one that I talked about when I was talking about highlighters, but I do typically use this to kind of set my bronzer. If I have a cream bronzer that has more of a matte finish and I want a little bit of a glow, why am I not swatching the bronzers? I just realized. But anyway, I will typically take this to maybe set cream bronzer and add just like a little bit of a smooth glow. It's so pretty. It just looks like you applied like a filter to your skin in real life. This one is the Flower Beauty Heat Wave Luminous Bronzer. Definitely one of my favorites. This one is in the shade Sunrise. Oh my gosh, I've used a lot of this product. It used to have like a pretty obvious dome on it, and I feel like mine looks very flat because I use it so often. It looks pretty cool in the pan. On the cheeks, it doesn't really look cool, but I would say it has more of like a neutral undertone rather than being really orangey or super warm. Also, it just has a very smooth texture to it, which I love. I've actually been using this one quite a bit. This one is from Beauty Pie. I have to pull out the pan to see what it's called. The Awesome Bronze Powder Bronzer, and I have the shade Sunnyside. This actually had a design on it, but I've used it so much I feel like the design is gone. Again, I feel like this is a nice option for setting cream bronzer into place. I don't always do that, but I feel like more and more I've been skipping a lot of powder, and then I'll just set the areas that need it. So I might use a little bit of powder under my eyes, and then rather than applying powder all over my face, I might take like a little bit of a powder bronzer and just apply it on my cheeks. But this one almost, it doesn't like blend into my skin tone, but I feel like it is the perfect shade for me. It looks really soft, very, very natural, so I'm definitely a fan of this one. I've used this one quite a bit. I have this one from Cover FX, the Sun-Kissed Bronze Duo. So I think they have a couple of options. I haven't used this in such a long time. I feel like it's just a little bit too dark for me, and typically when I wear bronzer, I want something that kind of matches my skin tone that's just maybe like a shade or two darker rather than being so intense. So I'm just going to, well, this is pretty old. I don't know if the formula is still good or not. So I am going to declutter this product. I think there is maybe a lighter duo, and I probably should have gone with that one, but the darker one is just a little bit too deep for me. And then the last one in this section is from LYS. It's the No Limits Matte Bronzer. I have the shade Motivate. I do really like this formula. This is definitely like a true matte bronzer. This one is completely matte, but it's very smooth on the skin, really, really pretty. That's just like a light soft swatch, but you can build this up, which is nice because if I do get a little bit of a tan, I feel like I don't need to go out and buy like a whole new bronzer because this one does layer and build up nicely. I feel like I was able to cut down my powder bronzer section quite a bit. So now I only have 5, which I think is more than enough. As far as creams, I don't know which ones I'm going to keep and which ones I'm going to declutter. So I guess I'll just go through them one by one. This one is from Makeup Revolution. It is the Ultra Cream Bronzer and I have the shade Light. Mine looks messy. I usually keep my products like a little bit neater, but honestly, I use this product so much and I feel like cream products as a whole are kind of hard to keep looking as nice powder products. I don't even, with this one, I just throw it on very quickly because when I'm in a hurry, this product is perfect. It blends out in seconds. It is such an effortless product to use. I feel like this just kind of made me fall in love with cream products. This has a ton of pigment, so just keep that in mind. You can blend it out, but I would always recommend going in with like a really small amount and then adding more. But it is so dewy, so smooth and pretty on the skin. I love it. It's one of my top cream bronzers. Another one of my top cream bronzers is this one from Makeup by Mario. This is the Soft Sculpt Shaping Stick and I have the shade Light. Again, I use this one so much, but I have had this for a little while and I swear it looks like I've barely used it because a little bit of this product goes such a long way. So this one is not quite as glowy or dewy as Makeup Revolution. This one is more of like a satin finish and I think it stays in place a little bit longer than Makeup Revolution. So it depends on the look I'm going for, but if I want my makeup to stay and not move, I will wear this one. I'm also going to keep this one from LYS Beauty. This is their No Limits cream bronzer and I have the shade Motivate. So I have their powder bronzer, but I also love their cream bronzer. Again, super pigmented, like the smallest amount goes such a long way. So if you're looking for like a natural dewy bronzer or like a natural sheer bronzer, this is not the formula to try. I have another product that I'll recommend in just a second, but the formula is perfect. It is basically flawless. It blends out so beautifully. It kind of falls in between like the Makeup by Mario and Makeup Revolution in terms of finish. It's not overly dewy, but it's a little bit more glowy than Makeup by Mario. I am going to declutter the Rare Beauty bronzer stick. I know a lot of people love this product and just Rare Beauty as a whole, and I do like Rare Beauty, but every time I use this, I don't know, I feel like I always almost wish I used LYS or Makeup by Mario, and I don't know exactly what the reason is. Here's what it looks like swatched. I feel like on my cheeks, it almost looks a little bit patchy. Like it looks fine in this swatch. It's so silky, very, very smooth, but I don't know. I don't know what it is exactly. I just feel like I don't end up using this one quite as much as the other 3. Maybe it's like a little bit dark, a little bit too orangey. I feel like there are just like a couple of small things. Every time I wear it, I'm not completely satisfied with my makeup look, and it does end up looking a little patchy. So I am going to declutter this product. This is the Persona bronzer stick. I have the shade Dune. I really like Persona's formula because it's really, really creamy. It just doesn't take any effort to blend the product out. And again, it has like a really pretty glow to it. Kind of similar to, what's this one? The LYS bronzer stick, but I feel like this one blends out and looks a little bit softer and more natural on the skin. It does have pretty good pigment to it. I feel like it's a very warm bronzer, so I like to keep this one on hand for the summer. And then this bronzer stick I'm going to keep as well. I promise I will declutter some, but I've been a big fan of all of these formulas lately. This is from Merit. It is their bronzer balm. So this is what I would recommend if you want like a very natural bronzer. This is a little bit more sheer. Like I could probably go a shade lighter as well, and that's a little bit of a heavier swatch, but as you blend this out on the skin, like you can still see my freckles underneath. It ends up looking very, very natural. So on days where I don't want anything quite as intense as these, I'll reach for this one. I am going to declutter this product from KVD Beauty. It's an interesting product. It's basically a liquid contour and it comes with a doe foot. I don't know. I just don't find myself wearing this. It's in the shade Light Warm 80. It's a good idea in theory. Like it's very, very light. It really is like a gel formula. So I feel like when I apply this over foundation, it almost erases my foundation underneath. It looks a little bit patchy. It's almost too sheer for me. Like if I want a sheer product, I'll reach for Merit, and Merit applies nicely on top of foundation, even on top of a little bit of powder. But when I wear this one on top of foundation, because it is like such a wet gel formula, it definitely picks up my foundation underneath. I'm also going to declutter this product. This is really pretty. They sent it to me in the mail as PR. It is the Ciate Dewy Stick, but this shade's too dark for me. This is in the color bronze. Here's what the stick looks like. It kind of looks very similar to the Merit Day Glow Balm. And if they have a lighter shade, I feel like I would probably like to try it in the future. Here's what the swatch looks like blended out. I mean, it looks like it could work for me, but I feel like on the cheeks, it's a little bit too dark as a highlighter, at least for what I typically go for. It just looks a little bit off because usually I do like a brighter gold or a softer pink, and this just doesn't always match well with my blush, and it kind of stands out, but not in an ideal way. The formula is gorgeous. The color is just a little bit too deep for me, so I'm going to pass this product along too. I do have two other liquid contours. So I have the Flower Beauty Low Light Liquid Contour, and I have the shade Light. I know this got mixed reviews, but I haven't had any issues with it. I feel like it blends out perfectly. A lot of people were saying it dries down too fast and then it ends up looking patchy on the skin. I really don't find that to be the case. There's a swatch of it. I like it because it is more of like a matte finish. So I feel like because it dries down fast and it dries to a matte finish, it's nice because it is a little bit longer lasting. This is from Milani. It is their liquid contour in the shade Honey. The Milani formula is so good, but I wouldn't use this shade as a contour. I definitely use it as more of a bronzer, but look how even and smooth that is. These Milani products have really good pigmentation and they have an amazing shade range. So if you're looking for a good drugstore like liquid bronzer or contour, I do recommend these. I do have two of the Milk Makeup bronzers. I thought they were two different shades for a second. I remember what happened. I bought one last summer and then I got a kit during the holiday season that had a bronzer in it as well. And why did I open both of them? I don't think I realized they were different shades. So I am going to declutter one and then I'll keep one. This is in the shade Bake. But you know what? This product is so nice to have because it is tiny, which, you know, I saw like on TikTok, a lot of people were talking about the fact that Milk Makeup significantly like shrank their product size. They used to sell like a really big bronzer and they said they made it smaller for like less packaging, less product waste, which definitely makes sense, but they did not lower the price. I can't remember the exact details, but seeing it like laid out side by side, like how much product you used to get for the price point compared to now, it was kind of ridiculous. But I like the fact that this is so small because if I do want to apply cream bronzer like around my nose or even as like eyeshadow or again when I'm traveling, this is nice to have. So you know what, I am going to hang on to this. I wouldn't say the formula is better than some of the other ones I mentioned, but I like the small size. I do have two of the ColourPop Super Shock bronzers. So I have Get Sandy and then I also have Beachin'. I have used Get Sandy so much, like I actually hit pan on this. Wait, why is that pan black? I feel like that's just like the color of the actual pan. I love this product. I think it looks so good on the skin. It's very, very natural. When we were traveling a little bit during like the beginning of the year and actually like December as well, because I think I tried this back in the fall, I was always throwing this in my makeup bag because I don't know, like when I travel, sometimes I do my makeup a little bit differently, but I wasn't, you know, wanting to bring like a full-on cream bronzer and I didn't want to bring like a full matte bronzer and have both of them. So I felt like this product was perfect because it is like such an interesting cream to powder formula. So you literally just get like both formulas in one. So on the left, I have the shade Get Sandy, and then on the right, I have the shade Beachin'. I don't know. I feel like Beachin' could work for me, but the reason why I like Get Sandy combined with the formula is because it is so natural looking and it's not too intense. So you know what, I think I'm going to declutter the deeper one. I feel like maybe there is a shade between Get Sandy and Beachin' that could also work for me during the summertime. I'll have to look at that. They're kind of similar, like they give a somewhat similar effect to the skin, the e.l.f. Putty Bronzer. So I have two. I think I have a third one too, and it's not in this drawer. I do, because I do have two of the Luminous Putty Bronzers. I wear this one the most. This one is called Vacay Mood. I also have like a very warm toned one as well, but this cool toned one is so gorgeous. I've been wearing it pretty much, when did they launch these? In January. I've been wearing it like all winter since they launched them. And then I have the regular putty bronzer in the shade Tan Lines. I don't know, the Luminous Putty cheek products I prefer because they just have like this beautiful glowy base to them, but they're not over the top. Like they don't make your skin look full on dewy. I think they also play well with other powder products. Like you can layer them on top of powder. Usually when I'm doing my makeup these days, I do my foundation and my concealer, and then I apply like cream bronzer and cream blush, and then I'll set everything. But there are days where I'll do my foundation and apply a little bit of powder and then want to go in with cream products. And when that's the case, I do like the e.l.f. putty products. So on the left is the luminous one, and then on the right is the matte one, or the regular one. So you can definitely see the difference. I just think this formula is so pretty, very natural, really soft on the skin. And then back here, I just have the Tower 28 Sculptino. This is like their cream bronzer contour. I have the shade Getty. This is nice. I think honestly, I do prefer the Makeup Revolution formula over this one. Let me actually swatch them next to each other. I do think the Tower 28 one is a little bit of, like the formula is a little longer lasting than Makeup Revolution. Makeup Revolution is just so creamy that, you know, it blends out perfectly and it does stay in place well, but Tower 28 has like a little bit of like, there's like a tug to it when you're applying it to the skin. So I do feel like it does stay in place a little bit better. Here's what they look like next to each other. They do have a glow to them, like both of them, but Makeup Revolution just like extra dewy. It's so, so good. But I do enjoy this formula. So now that I've cut my collection down a little bit, I feel like I could put all of my cream cheek products in the same section over here. And then I have my cream bronzers and cream highlighters as well. So that's good. I was able to get rid of an entire section. Okay, I do have a few more products to talk about. So this is the Flower Beauty highlighter palette. They do have two. This one is the lighter one. I love this. It's so gorgeous. I just did a video recently on like older makeup products I still love, and I think I tried this for the first time years ago, and I still love it. I still reach for it all the time. I am going to declutter these ColourPop bronzers. Why are these so big? I don't know that ColourPop's been doing like this intense large packaging as much lately, which I appreciate. I'm pretty sure they just recently relaunched the powder bronzers, highlighters, and blushes, but they did like smaller, more compact packaging. This formula is fine. I think it works well, but I just don't end up reaching for these because they're so big and they're just kind of like in the back of my drawer. So I just feel like I don't need them. I kept other powder bronzers I like. I'm just going to declutter these. This highlighter palette is so good. I think this brand is sold at Ulta. I'm pretty sure it's Becky G's makeup brand. I haven't tried anything else from it yet, but I got this as part of a BoxyCharm and I love it. I think the actual quality is amazing. And I do find myself wearing all four of these, which honestly surprised me a little bit because usually when it comes to highlighter palettes, I don't end up reaching for all of the shades. I feel like this formula actually applies better than it swatches. If you watch my blush declutter, I talked about the Beauty Bakery blush lighter palette, and I feel like the formulas are kind of similar. Like they're a little bit thicker, but so smooth and so intense on the cheeks. Really, really pretty. So I am going to keep this. Actually, I would say this palette from Pixie is kind of similar as well. I think I am going to declutter this. I did get a lot of use out of this for a while, but again, it's just so big, and you know, I don't buy a lot of very big products anymore, like especially when it comes to palettes, because I just don't reach for them. I feel like they are kind of awkward to hold, and usually when I'm doing my makeup, I'm in a hurry and I just want like one product to apply. So I think this works well. It's just not something that gets a lot of use in my collection, unfortunately. So I'm going to pass this one along. I also have this highlighter palette from Essence. I have the bronzer palette too. I just realized it is not in this drawer. It might be in a different drawer for some reason. I probably used it and then left it in like my eyeshadow palette drawer. This is the Pure Nude highlighter palette. You know what? I like the bronzer palette better than the highlighter palette. I'm trying to hold this and not block the light. This is nice. The product looks dry. Like in the pan, it doesn't look flattering, but it looks good on the skin. I think it's just a combination of the fact that I wear more cream highlighters these days than I used to, and I have a lot of powder highlighters I really enjoy and just absolutely love, but I don't end up using this one quite as much these days. So because I kept the other highlighter palette, I think I will declutter this one. I don't think I need to keep two. And then the last product in here is from Illamasqua. This is so gorgeous. It is such a high quality product. It is their Beyond Powder, and I have the shade Epic. So I wish I had a lighter shade of this. This is a little bit dark for me as a highlighter, but I think the formula is perfect as a highlighter. Sometimes I'll use it as like a bronzer topper or even as an eyeshadow, because look how pretty it is. It is so beautiful. I am going to keep this one. I feel like it will come in handy during the summertime when I do want, again, to pair like more of a glowy product on top of a matte bronzer. I do need to pick up a lighter shade of this. I remember saying that in the past, and then again, I just didn't. Like every time I say that, I am reminded of how many products I have in my collection, and I know in the back of my mind, like I don't actually need to pick up a lighter shade of whatever I'm saying I do. Okay, so here's what my collection looked like beforehand. I started off with 66 products, and here's what it looks like afterwards. So I did keep 42, and then I decluttered 24. These are all of the products I am decluttering. So I'm decluttering 36% of my collection, which I'm happy about. I feel like there's more space in here. I don't really plan on trying like a ton of highlighters, a ton of bronzers this year. I mean, it's already April, and I think I've only purchased one highlighter, maybe two, and then I think maybe like one or two bronzers just to test them out for some videos. But for the most part, I'm not planning on buying a ton of products, which I feel good about. I wanted to try some new formulas last year when I got into creams and liquids, and I'm happy I did because I discovered a lot of formulas I really enjoy. But anyway, thank you so much for watching today's declutter video. I really appreciate it. I'll put some other declutter videos that I've done recently on the screen in case you want to check them out. And I would love for you to subscribe. I need to declutter lip products, eyeshadow palettes, probably a couple of other categories as well. So those will be coming soon, but I'll see you very soon with a new video. Bye.